All right, so I've done over $800,000 at this point in revenue on Etsy, and in the beginning, the Etsy ads part was a really difficult hurdle for me to get over. So in this video, I'll go over all you need to know about Etsy ads from a beginner's standpoint. Let's get into it. So first off, what is Etsy ads? Well, Etsy ads is something that you can just toggle on and set a specific budget to how it will maximally spend each day. What it actually does in practice is that it just creates a separate listing in search so that you will be seen 2 times. There's a statistic that just says that you need to be seen at least 7 times for someone to actually make a purchase. So in search, there will basically be 2 listings, one organic one and then one that's your ad. So there will be a separate listing, a duplicate one, which will be referred to as the ad. So if we just head into Etsy here, let's see here, and we just search for, let's search for sweatshirt. When I just search for sweatshirt, there's a first row here that's just all the listings that are basically put on ads for this specific keyword. So when we toggle stuff on Etsy and just click ads on, then there will be a separate listing up here that's referred to ad by Etsy seller here. And all the other ones here underneath are the organic listings that's ranking on the first page for the specific keyword. But the first part here is on ads, and then there's another row underneath here, just some scrolls down, and I think, yes, you have even a third row here underneath that, and then you also have a 4th one here, and I think that's about it, right? So the 4th row of ads you also have here. So when you toggle stuff on ads, you show up your specific organic listing will be created into a duplicate listing. The duplicate listing will be ranked separately from your organic one, and it will be referred to like this one on ads here. So it will just say that it's an ad by Etsy seller, but it will be a separate listing from the organic one. Now, how does Etsy ads in practice work, apart from how it shows? How it actually works from us, the sellers, is that they use a system called pay-per-click. Now, a pay-per-click means that whenever someone just clicks an ad listing here, one of these ones that's referred to as an ad by Etsy seller, you will be billed for that specific click. Now, if we only have relevant keywords in our listing, that means that we will show up usually 2 times, usually actually on the same page. Since they are seeing our specific listing at least 2 times in search, then the likelihood of them actually clicking it is a bit higher because of the statistic that I mentioned earlier, that someone needs to see your listing at least 7 times in order to actually purchase something. But the most important part of this is that all it really does is increase traffic to the specific listing. So it really only just increases click-through rate. Click-through rate is just when someone clicks your listing in search. But if people are heading to the listing and no one is actually converting, no one is actually buying, then that means that there are issues on a listing level that's making people not wanting to purchase. That could be the lead times. That could basically be how long it takes for you to process the order, and the delivery time that you have set in your shipping profiles. Those are really easy to overlook because they're such simple settings, but that's actually one of the main variables to actually setting on Etsy. The lead times could be an issue. It could be an issue with the offer itself. It could be an issue with the price. It could be an issue with the images in your listing. There could just be so many different issues why they're not converting. And I've talked about that previously as well, because it's very important to actually diagnose the issue once we know what the issue is. In general here, what I would just want to communicate out is that using Etsy ads won't fix a turd. If the listing is bad in and of itself, the offer is wrong, the design isn't something that the people want, or the lead times are too long, then people will just click into the listing and they won't convert. If you have that problem yourself, just try and see what possible issues you can make and just try to make some marginal improvements here and there, like fix the lead times, maybe try different types of images, maybe try out different pricing structures. Just try small things, and then over time you will definitely get better. But it's really important to, if you feel that this exact problem, Etsy ads won't fix it, and I would really recommend to just try to diagnose the issue and make small improvements, because those small improvements will stack, and then together, all in all, they will fix the issue. Now, there's another important part when it comes to Etsy ads, and that's actually the ROAS part. ROAS stands for return on ad spend, and that's what they refer to as basically the money that you make back when you made a sale using ads. There's another term that's important to know as well, which is ad cost of sale. Etsy specifically don't use that, but I do also sell on Merch by Amazon, and they mainly use ACOS. You can use ROAS there too, but ACOS is the most commonly referred term there. And those are actually the same thing, just the inverse of each other. ROAS is basically, it just tracks how much you get back for each sale on ads. So you spend money on ads and then you get some stuff back. And it's very important in this part when it comes to ROAS to know your profit margins. Let's say that your profit margin is 25%. That means that your return on ad spend that you at minimum want to go for is 4. Since 25 is a fourth out of 100. As another example, let's say that you have a 20% gross margin, like just after something has sold on Etsy. That means that your ROAS that you want to go for at minimum is a 5, since 20 is a fifth out of 100. That's kind of how you have to think about ROAS. That's usually how I think about it and how I make my ROAS at least profitable. There are different ways to just get an overall view as well of the ROAS. It's just really important to know your margins and to know that the parts that you should never go under. So if your gross margin that you want to hit is at minimum 20%, then you need a 5. If it's 25%, then for instance, it's a 4 you need. The bigger margin that you want to go for, the less ROAS you actually need. So the smaller number it can be. So another important part to this as well is that when you're using Etsy ads, you do have the ad sales that's on the ads page. And that just refers to when people clicking on the specific ad and then purchasing sale, or clicking that specific ad and then clicking a related one to that specific listing and then clicking purchase. This really skews the effect that advertising on Etsy has. What I would highly recommend is that you just go here into your listings and then you view all your listings that you should have on this page. Since this is my test shop, I don't have anything here. You basically always refer to the ad spend on the ads page and compare that to the overall sales that the listing actually has gotten. Because if you actually made a sale through the ads listing or on the organic listing of a single listing here, then both of those will count as sales for a specific listing here when you view all listings. Just in general, it's just important to compare the Etsy ads costs and the Etsy ad spends in comparison to the overall sales that a listing actually gets. That's how you actually know the full effect of Etsy ads on a listing. Now, sometimes Etsy ads can give you like really weird keywords that they are like pushing you for. It can basically be, for instance, if we talk POD on his channel, they can actually rank you for like PNGs or SVGs and stuff like that you don't even sell. That's happened to me a bunch of times. Sometimes when we go into ads, we can just manage the keywords. If it doesn't actually resemble your item, take it off. If you, for instance, sell a basketball sweatshirt, basketball jewelry, or basketball necklace, then take those off because it doesn't resemble your item and that's not what the customer is looking for. How everything works on Etsy is that they search for something, they look at the results, they click on a specific listing to see if that's what they want. But if the search isn't actually matching, then just take it off, as people are not searching for that specific item using those specific keywords. However, if you sell a basketball sweatshirt and the Etsy ad term that it's being ranked for is basketball sweatshirt, keep that on. But if it sells basketball jewelry, basketball necklace, basketball SVG, take all of those out. Just use common sense here. In my opinion, that's served me a lot when it comes to using Etsy ads, and just take the stuff out that doesn't resemble the item that you're selling and just keep it simple. Like if it's a basketball, if it says basketball jewelry, basketball necklace, take those out. If it says basketball SVG, take those out. But if you're selling a basketball sweatshirt or the basketball sweatshirt for women and it's ranking for those keywords, keep those on. However, there's also an important part to this, and that's sometimes I've actually gotten sales for keywords that didn't really make sense. And that could be because you're popping up in a related search and then they're kind of like that. They hop into another listing and then they purchase that. Because if someone clicks an Etsy ad and then they purchase after that a related listing to that will still count as a sale for the Etsy ad. In my opinion, if something is getting lots of sales and it doesn't really make sense, I always turn back to that. Okay, I don't really know. There's stuff that I don't know, and that's always a lot more than the things that I do know. No matter how good I get at something, I always keep stuff on if I'm getting sales for that specific term, even though it doesn't really make sense. As long as it's overall getting me sales, I just keep it on, because that's the general rule of thumb here. We want to use Etsy ads to garner sales. And now, to summarize everything, I have about 90% of my listings on ads. This is because I put up so many listings in the beginning and almost none of them worked. But as I put up maybe like 100 listings, maybe like 10 of those actually sell, at maximum 20, but usually like 1 to 10. When you do that for a long time, you usually end up with good winners, and you can just keep those on ads. And also when you put the ropes in, as I've done, then you kind of know that, okay, if I just put this design up on ads, then it usually gives a higher and faster results than not using it on ads. And since I already know from my store what's selling or not, I can just put stuff up on ads from the get and have a good idea that it will convert or not. But the most important part of that is that if I put something up on Etsy and use ads on it from the get, I always make sure that I just look at the ads and see if it hits my target ROAS that I need to have. So I always want to hit a 30 to 40% margin. So I just make sure that I see the 30 to 40% margin in a ROAS perspective on Etsy. If I don't see that, I just take them off of ads. So I spend $10, see if I hit my target ROAS. If I don't, I take them off of ads. And that's usually my way of approaching ads, and that's served me really well, especially since I now use Etsy ads when I list the item. Another important takeaway from this too is that shipping is actually not accounted for when it comes to ads. So if you are doing paid shipping, that is actually not accounted for when doing ads. If you are doing free shipping, that is accounted for within the ad, since you have bulked everything together in the cost in ads. But it's just important to know that the shipping cost is not accounted for in the revenue when you make a sale using Etsy ads. And the last part that I want to just cover, usually with ads, I've found that a minimum of 2.5 in ROAS and a maximum of around 4.5 to 5 in ROAS is usually where I end up. Usually it's around 3 to 4 in ROAS for me, and usually around the 4-1. Actually, but the whole scale is basically 2.5 to 5. I usually end up somewhere, depending on the week, around like 3.5 to maybe 4 in ROAS. If you just take the revenue that you've made during a specific period and divide that by the ad spend, you get the total ROAS for the whole thing that you're actually selling, basically for all orders made during that specific period that you're looking at. Let's say that you, for instance, made $30,000, just for instance, and then you spent $5,000 in ad spend. In total, this is your total ad spend for a given period that you're looking at. Let's say that you're looking at the last 30 days, for instance. Then, so what you do then, if you're looking at the total amount of Etsy ad revenue and Etsy ad spend, then you can just take the revenue divided by the ad spend to get an overall view of the overall ROAS that you have for your shop. Like generally, just super easily check the health of my Etsy ad spend is I just take the Etsy ad revenue divided by the Etsy ad spend. So let's say, for instance, that we sold $30,000 in revenue for the last 30 days. Then we take $30,000 and then we actually spent $5,000 in ad spend. Then we take $30,000, divide that by $5,000, and then we get the ROAS, and the ROAS would be a 6. This is a really good ROAS, so this is just an example on how to count. As I mentioned earlier, the usual ROAS that I've gotten is at minimum 2.5 and at maximum around like 5. And I usually hover around 3.5 to 4. If you take an overall period and just look at how everything has gone, at a glance, you can basically see how your Etsy ads are actually going. And this is a really good way to just see if you're doing stuff right, doing stuff wrong, without going into the nitty-gritty of Etsy ads every time you just go into the ads page. Because then you can just take the overall revenue made during a specific period and divide that by the ad spend that was spent during a specific period. This just gives an overall feeling on how everything is going, and if you measure this day by day, you can see if things are going better, if things are going worse. In a more general way, and not just looking at specific listings, but you're looking at the overall health of the Etsy ads for the whole store. All right, so we just went through how Etsy ads work from a beginner standpoint. I took quite a general approach to this video, as it can be quite overwhelming when it comes to Etsy ads. I will make a more advanced and in-depth video on specific things later on. But if you like this video, please hit that like button and subscribe, as that helps a lot to grow my channel. And if there's anything that you want me to cover next, just drop a comment down below and I'll do my best to help out. I'll see you in the next one.